So you think WWE actually cares about building new stars? You think they learned anything from the past 20 years of mistakes? Well, let me tell you something that's going to absolutely infuriate you. Brock Lesnar just waltzed back into WWE, and guess what happened? Every single rising star you've been invested in, every moment of character development, every storyline that was finally getting good, destroyed in an instant. And the worst part? Triple H and creative allowed it to happen. Again, they literally rolled out the red carpet for part-timers while full-time wrestlers who bleed for this company every single week got shoved aside like yesterday's trash. You want to know the real reason WWE can't create megastars anymore? It's staring us right in the face, and nobody in that Stamford office wants to admit it. Keep watching because what I'm about to expose will change how you see WWE forever. Before I break this down and show you the receipts, we have a quick request for you. We are constantly working to improve our content to earn your love and support. That's why we would truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on Wrestling Zone Insider. Now let's talk about what really happened when Brock Lesnar made his grand return. The arena erupted, Paul Heyman grabbed that microphone, and within 5 minutes of television time, 3 months of storytelling got flushed down the toilet. You had wrestlers like Gunther who was building momentum as an unstoppable force. You had LA Knight finally connecting with audiences after years of grinding. You had rising stars in NXT waiting for their main roster moment. And what did WWE do? They hit the panic button and brought back the same guy who's been doing the same suplexes for over a decade. Here's the thing that makes my blood boil, and I know you feel this too because I see your comments every single week. Brock Lesnar is an incredible athlete. Nobody's denying that. The man is a legitimate beast, a box office draw, a once-in-a-generation physical specimen. But here's the problem, WWE has used him as a crutch for so long that they've forgotten how to build anyone else to that level. They've created this vicious cycle where part-timers come back, squash the full-timers, take the spotlight, then disappear for months while the weekly roster has to pick up the pieces. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in practice. Brock returns, he gets inserted into the main event scene immediately. No build, no storyline justification, just, hey, Brock's back, let's put him in the championship picture. Meanwhile, you've got someone like Austin Theory who was being positioned as a future star, and suddenly his momentum dies because creative has to pivot everything around Lesnar. You've got tag teams who were finally getting regular TV time, and suddenly they are back to opening matches because Brock needs 20 minutes for his entrance, match, and post-match beatdown. Trivia question 1, can you name how many times Brock Lesnar has returned to WWE only to immediately enter a championship program? Drop your answer in the comments below. Now let's talk about the message this sends to the locker room. Imagine you're a wrestler who shows up every single week. You're doing house shows on weekends, you're traveling 300 days a year, you're working through injuries because you don't want to lose your spot. You're cutting promos, you're engaging with fans on social media, you're doing everything WWE asks of you. And then Brock shows up 4 times a year, works maybe 8 minutes in the ring, gets paid exponentially more than you, and gets treated like he's the most important person in the company. How does that make you feel? How does that motivate you to keep grinding when you know that no matter how hard you work, a part-timer can show up and take everything you've built? The crazy part is that WWE knows this is a problem. They've known it for years. Remember when Centimeter Punk cut that pipe bomb promo back in 2011? One of his biggest complaints was exactly this, part-timers and nostalgia acts taking spots from full-time wrestlers. And what's changed since then? Nothing. If anything, it's gotten worse. We've gone from occasional legend appearances to structuring entire WrestleManias around part-timers. The full-time roster has become a supporting cast in their own show. Here's where it gets even more frustrating. WWE will tell you that bringing back stars like Brock is good for business. They'll point to ticket sales, they'll point to social media impressions, they'll point to mainstream media coverage. And sure, there's a temporary spike. But what about long-term growth? What about creating the next generation of draws? When WWE relies on the same handful of names from the past, they are actively choosing not to invest in the future. They are admitting that they don't believe their current roster can carry the company, which becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Let's look at some specific examples of who got buried by Brock's return. And when I say buried, I don't just mean lost matches, I mean lost momentum, lost credibility, lost opportunities. First up, let's talk about Bobby Lashley. Here's a guy who's been with WWE for years, who has the look, the intensity, the legitimate combat sports background. He was in a program that was actually heating up, fans were invested, and then boom, Brock returns and suddenly Bobby's storyline gets derailed because creative needs to set up Brock versus whoever is holding the championship. Bobby went from must-see TV to an afterthought in the span of 2 weeks. Trivia question 2, what year did Brock Lesnar first win the WWE Championship? Let me know in the comments if you remember. Then there's the situation with the tag team division. WWE has been trying to rebuild tag team wrestling, trying to make it feel important again. Teams like the Street Profits, the Viking Raiders, even DIY after they got called up, these guys were putting on incredible matches, telling compelling stories. But when Brock returns, guess what gets cut from the show to make room for his segments? Tag team matches. Suddenly 20-minute TV time slots vanish because Brock needs 15 minutes to stare at Paul Heyman while Heyman cuts the same promo we've heard 1,000 times. The tag teams get bumped to main event or YouTube shows where nobody watches, and all that momentum they built, gone. Now I want to address something I know some of you are thinking, but Wrestling Zone Insider, Brock draws money. WWE is a business. They have to do what makes financial sense. And you're right, to a point. Yes, WWE is a business. Yes, they need to generate revenue. But here's the thing, sustainable business growth requires investment in the future, not just milking the past until there's nothing left. What happens when Brock physically can't compete anymore? What happens when The Rock stops making surprise appearances? What happens when all the part-timers from the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression Era finally retire for good? If WWE hasn't built new stars by then, they are in serious trouble. Look at what other companies do. Look at how New Japan Pro Wrestling builds their stars. They have a clear system where young lions work their way up, prove themselves, and when they reach the main event level, the company goes all in on them. Look at how AEW, despite all their own booking issues, at least tries to create new stars rather than constantly relying on ex-WWE talent. WWE has the resources, the platform, the infrastructure to create stars better than anyone else in the industry. They just choose not to because it's easier to push the nostalgia button. Here's the real kicker that's going to make you angry. WWE Creative knows exactly how to build stars. They've done it before. They built Stone Cold Steve Austin. They built The Rock. They built John Cena. They even built Brock Lesnar himself back in 2002. They know the formula. They know how to create compelling characters, how to put them in the right feuds, how to give them the moments that make audiences care. But somewhere along the way, they lost the courage to commit to new stars long term. They got scared. They got lazy. And now we're stuck in this cycle where the solution to every ratings dip or creative lull is bring back Brock or call The Rock or let's do another DX reunion. Trivia question 3. Which current WWE superstar do you think deserves a main event push but keeps getting overlooked? Sound off in the comments. Let's talk about the domino effect of Brock's return on specific storylines. There was this incredible build happening between Cody Rhodes and his pursuit of completing his story. Fans were emotionally invested, the narrative was compelling, everything was clicking. Then Brock returns and suddenly the narrative shifts. Now instead of focusing on Cody's journey, we have to shoehorn in Brock because hey, imagine Brock versus Cody. Don't get me wrong, that could be a great match, but it disrupts the organic storytelling that was already working. It's like reading a great novel and having someone rip out 3 chapters and replace them with pages from a different book. The women's division felt this impact too. Whenever major part-timer returns happen, you know who loses the most TV time? The women. Their segments get cut, their matches get shortened, their storylines get rushed to conclusion or just dropped entirely. We saw this happen repeatedly. Bianca Belair was having an incredible run as champion, putting on show-stealing performances, and then Brock returns and suddenly women's matches are getting 7 minutes instead of 15 because they need to make room for Brock's entrance, his match, his post-match angle, and 3 separate backstage segments hyping his next appearance. What really grinds my gears is how predictable this has all become. WWE fans can literally set their watches by this pattern. Ratings start to dip, bring back Lesnar. Pay-per-view needs a main event, bring back Lesnar. Creative has no ideas, bring back Lesnar. It's the most lazy, uninspired booking imaginable, and yet WWE keeps going back to this well like it's an infinite resource. Meanwhile, wrestlers like Riddle, who was over with audiences and showing personality 4 days, gets lost in the shuffle because there's no room for his character when Brock is dominating the narrative. Here's something else that doesn't get talked about enough, the style clash. Brock works a very specific style, Suplex City, limited moveset, short matches, lots of rest holds. That's his character, that's his brand, and it works for him. But when you build your entire main event scene around accommodating that style, you're limiting what everyone else can do. Young wrestlers who want to showcase their full arsenal, who want to tell longer stories in the ring, who want to have those epic 30-minute classics, they can't do that when the expectation becomes, let's do it like Brock does it. The entire presentation of main event wrestling shifts to accommodate one guy. We have a quick request for you. We are constantly working to improve our content to earn your love and support. That's why we would truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on Wrestling Zone Insider. Your support genuinely helps us continue exposing the truth about what's happening in WWE. The solution here isn't complicated, but it requires WWE to have courage. They need to commit to their full-time roster. They need to give rising stars the same protection, the same booking, the same promotional push that they give to part-timers. When a young wrestler loses a match, it shouldn't feel like they are being sacrificed to make someone else look good. It should feel like part of a larger story. When a veteran returns, they should be used to elevate the current roster, not overshadow them. Imagine if Brock returned and his entire purpose was to put over the next generation. Imagine if he came back specifically to lose to someone like Theory or Breakker or whoever WWE wants to build as their next top guy. Imagine if his return was the beginning of someone else's story, not the end of it. That's how legends should be used. That's how you create new stars while also giving fans the nostalgia they want. But instead, WWE books Brock to destroy everyone, dominate everyone, and then he leaves again while the full-timers are left trying to rebuild their credibility. The worst part about all of this? We as fans enable it. Every time we pop for Brock's music, every time we buy tickets to see his matches, every time we trend his return on social media, we're telling WWE that this is what we want. We're telling them that we don't care about long-term storytelling or building new stars, we just want the familiar faces. And WWE responds by giving us more of the same. It's a cycle that won't break until we demand better. Final trivia question: if you could book Brock Lesnar's return properly to benefit the full-time roster, what would you do? Share your fantasy booking in the comments. Look, I get it. Nostalgia is powerful. There's something special about seeing a legendary performer return and recapture that magic. But wrestling needs to be about more than just reliving past glories. It needs to be about creating new moments, building new legends, giving us new reasons to tune in every week. WWE has the most talented roster in the world sitting in their locker room right now, and they are wasting it by constantly hitting the reset button and bringing back the same handful of names. So what's the takeaway from all of this? Brock Lesnar's return might have popped a rating. It might have sold some tickets, but it came at the cost of everyone else on the roster. It derailed storylines, it buried rising stars, it sent a message to the locker room that hard work and consistency don't matter as much as being a part-timer with a big name. And until WWE makes a conscious decision to change this pattern, we're going to keep seeing the same cycle repeat over and over again. This is Wrestling Zone Insider, and I want to know what you think. Do you agree that Brock's return buried the roster? Or do you think I'm completely wrong and that having established stars is exactly what WWE needs? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so you never miss our content. We're here every week exposing the truth about what's really happening in professional wrestling, and we can't do it without your support. I'll see you in the next one.